And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus on this Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. Temperatures outside 48 degrees. A little bit of a breeze out of the northwest at 13. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with our Ag Director, Bridgette Readel. Good afternoon, Bridgette. How's your day going so far?
I noticed earlier that the temperature says it's 45, but the feels like was more like 34. A little bite to that wind today.
A little bit. Yeah,
that must be the feels like for outside, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's not in the room where you are. Addison has his voice back, so the How's Addison Doing fan club can check on him. You don't have a fever, but it's hot in that room.
It is. I might as well. I'm sweating like I have a fever.
You know what? If you had a fever, that room would break you of it.
I forgot I have a little fan.
Oh, turn on the little fan. Please don't
Well,
let
last
it
time it
blow up.
shredded into pieces. Be careful.
That was messy. Very messy.
It's got some trouble starting, but it's got the spirit. Oh, there it goes.
It's just like everything else.
It kind of hesitated. I was kind of worried it was going to blow up.
Even the fan's too hot. So that's the way this day has gone so far.
78 degrees in here.
In your room. Again, outside, significantly different.
You know what the curse of this building, I've said this before, but never on air. We have our for anyone who doesn't know our studio building, we're right next to Thunder Road here. Mm-hmm. We've got all these big, beautiful windows. I mean, we can see everything everywhere going on all over town. Not a single window opens in this building.
Well, not without.
Everything has to be soundproof.
Right, not without a hole through it. I mean, we can get a window open in here, but it's going to be costly. I chose violence one day last week. Today might be my day again.
Doesn't come out of my paycheck. I guess I could open a window.
Hey, I didn't say a thing.
Oh, man. Boy, well, you two are coming up with some really fine ideas here, aren't you?
You know, I could run the show remotely on a laptop and do this from outside
from the patio. You could try.
I should do that. I could.
You just need a long cord.
A very long cord.
That's fine.
They make extension cords.
Again, if a window's accidentally broken, it won't be my first or my last problem that I've caused and never noticed. Or got noticed.
You broke a window.
It's been a while since I broke a window. There's a variety of other things I've managed to break on a semi-regular basis.
I didn't break the window, but I did acquire some window damage on Easter on my car.
Well, you and I had to talk about that,
yeah,
yes.
I took a big fat rock to my brand new front windshield driving through Rogers.
Would you?
So shout out to another reason for me not to like Rogers, Minnesota. As someone who grew up in St. Michael, I already didn't like Rogers, but just another reason.
Okay. So here we are. Rogers is going down.
They're on my list.
Well, we'll keep them there.
Good. They will stay there. I have a new front windshield now, for anyone wondering.
And it's got a hole in it.
No. No. My insurance would have some questions if I immediately got
Did you get it fixed yet?
Yes. Shout out to my insurance. This is what full coverage is for. I had a new windshield that day.
Very nice.
Put on the car.
Okay.
So.
I know we have weather and ag to talk about, but just real quick.
This is Addison time.
I know.
Get to talk
This is
yesterday.
Addison
We got to
time.
catch up. People are invested in me.
I had my pickup in town. This is probably 10 years ago. And it was a super cold day in January. And apparently I'd gotten it washed, which maybe I shouldn't have. But there was some ice in the rear window track. And when I got into my pickup, some way, somehow, I slammed my door and the back window shattered in the vehicle.
Ooh.
Just dumped right into the back seat.
You know what? I actually saw stuff like that happen a lot. I used to work at the Home Depot in Fergus Falls. I used to see that a lot on like vans. People would slam their back doors down and the
this
window
was a
would go
pickup.
out.
And when that happened, I immediately called the windshield replacement joint. I'm like, say, could you guys maybe fix this for me? Well, we can come to you. I said, I don't want to drive 40 miles home with a broken window or a window smashed out, so you can drive to me to fix a window. Oh, that's a great idea. I said, how about if I come to you? I'm in town. Yeah, that would be excellent. Do you want us to replace your windshield wipers while we're at it? I said, you know it's the back window, right? And she hesitated. Oh, of course. You guess you don't need that. So, that was helpful.
I didn't know that was an option. I didn't get new windshield wipers put on the car. Is that an option? Were they supposed to ask me that?
Break the back one and you can. So, all right, moving on. How's the weather, Dean?
Well, it's a little bit cloudy out there today, and we've got temperatures across the area a little below where they should be for this time of the year. We're still stuck in the 40s. Now, we are going to warm it up here in the FM area into the low to mid 50s today, so not a bad day, pretty close to normal. Our normal highs should be in about 53, so we'll be close to that this afternoon, and winds will be out of the north at about 5 to 15. Now, tonight, we'll have partly cloudy skies dropping off into the upper 30s to near 40, and tomorrow and Thursday, looking nice, especially tomorrow. We'll have a few clouds in the morning and then plenty of sunshine as we head throughout the day with highs in the low 70s tomorrow. Beautiful. And then Thursday, the winds ramp up a little bit, but we're still going to be mild with highs in the low to mid 70s. And then things start to change. As we head into Friday, we're going to have a strong cold front push into the area. Now, we'll have a morning high in the mid to upper 40s. And then as the cold front comes through, we'll see a little light rain or a rain-snow mix as colder air rushes in quickly with falling temperatures into the 30s in the afternoon and windy conditions. So Friday afternoon, Friday night's going to be raw. Now, one of our computer models is generating measurable snow over our area for Friday night into Saturday. Not quite buying it just yet. Most of the other models are pushing that system to our south Friday night into Saturday. So we'll see how that irons out. But one thing for sure is much, much cooler weather comes into the forecast for the weekend as we're looking at temperatures in the 30s on Saturday. That's it. And then into the 40s on Sunday. Now, next week, we begin our warm-up again. And by this time next week, we're back up to about 70. So that roller coaster ride continues. And I'm a little concerned towards the 22nd, and that's one of our signature storms on the LRC calendar. And the models, they're kind of bouncing all over the place between giving us some heavy rainfall, changing to snow. Other models are kind of pushing this to our south into the central plains. So we'll keep an eye on that for next week. It looks like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday time frame. We'll see how that irons out. And then after that, I believe we have one more storm before that ridge that's been anchored out over the west will start to move into the area, drying us out and warming us up towards the end of the month. So that's good news there. And in talking about the end of the month and the rest of spring, even into summer, 2 days, mark your calendar, this Thursday from 2 to 4 p.m. on the Jay Thomas Show. We'll have Gary Lezak joining us, and we'll be talking about the LRC and what this upcoming spring and summer holds for our area. I will say one thing. Precip-wise, we're going to be pretty close to normal.
Okay.
Over the area.
Hold on. Are you still using a 30-year for normal?
Yeah.
I'm out. No.
And then as we head into temperature-wise, we're going to have an above normal temperature for spring and summer. So that's good news there.
Slightly droughty conditions aren't bad.
I know.
So there's part of me that's okay with that.
And it looks like wetter than normal conditions in the western part of the state.
They'll take it. If it's green in Medora in July, that's a miracle.
Right.
So they'll take it.
No doubt. No doubt.
For those of you who get the entertainment value of the live stream today, I strongly recommend you follow us on our Lighthouse Commodities live stream, Facebook, YouTube, and Acres TV. Addison's doing a masterful job of captioning the camera settings today.
Every now and then, I like to put something a little silly on
Yeah,
the screen.
so it says, the caption for the traffic camera outside says outside, where it's good enough to drive around without a back window. So thank you for that shout out. I appreciate it. Today, I probably could.
Shout out to anyone driving around without a back window.
Absolutely.
I can guarantee there is at least one car in the Home Depot parking lot without a back window right
I bet
now.
there is.
There always is.
Okay, and if they would like to call and check on you because you're back to health, they can do that on the JLA Insurance phone line, 701-293-9000. We appreciate that very, very much. Nate Thorsrud runs that phone line as well as running JLA Insurance for us. And you can send emails because we like to read those as well. And that is powered by Superior Grain Equipment because you want superior grain handling, storage, and more on your farm. And we want to make sure that our email is easy to get to. So Superior Grain Equipment is our sponsor for that. Dean is weather@flagfamily.com. Send him all your dates and questions for Thursday. It's never a surprise that you have at least 90 emails about so-and-so's wedding and family reunion and the dates and
vacation.
You need the date, the zip code, so you can find it in the county.
Right.
So send all the vital information to Dean.
And we can give you a LRC forecast for your specific area.
Absolutely. Emails I got this week so far at ag@flagfamily.com. Some of them pretty interesting. One of them was a question from a listener about potatoes. They had bought a bag of potatoes, and then when they cooked them and cut them open, they found a hollow heart inside, which is like, it's a disease in potatoes. You just cut that part away, right? Whether you find like a void inside the potato, just cut that part away and move on.
It's a potato. Does that shock anytime there's anything wrong with it, you just cut that part off.
Yeah, just cut it off. It's fine.
It's a potato.
We actually will have Gary Shield with Northland Potatoes here on Thursday, and he can answer those types of questions for you if you'd like.
Will he be bringing us any potatoes?
I could ask him if he could.
I'd like that.
Okay, how would you like your potatoes? Is this going to be like a Bubba Gump question where...
And don't say mashed.
Yeah, it's a million different
Come
options.
on, that's a valid answer. Come on, Dean. You say that like it's not.
Fair enough. I will see what I can find in the potato realm for you.
Mashed potatoes are cuisine. I'm going to find one at that.
Only if made with real cream. Okay, we will argue more about our potatoes, but first we want the livestock report from the American Ag Network to be followed by On the Auction Block with Max Steffes of the Steffes Group. We'll be right back. Oh, it is a good day to talk about land and auction sales, etc. You know, if today was an outside auction sale, you'd have to wear your heavy coat.
Oh man, people be so happy today though to be outside. It is so nice out. Even this little bit of heat that we're getting, I just love it.
When the sun breaks out, it makes Max Steffes smile.
I think it makes everybody a little bounce in their step, doesn't it?
I should think so. So speaking of a bounce in the step and land, I had posted a list of questions for you of things we wanted to talk about today. Can we start with the land meeting that was going on in Devil's Lake last week? I had the opportunity to talk about that a little bit. I had Levi Otis join me to share what that meeting was about. I realize a lot of that focus is on water management, water rights, et cetera. But how did that impact the discussion for you as an auctioneer as being a part of that?
Well, the whole discussion was revolved around the U.S. Fish and Wildlife easements. And just to remind folks what those are restrictive conservation easements that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service began acquiring in the 50s in the Prairie Pothole region of the state and South Dakota as well. And the goal is to protect nesting habitat. A lot of what happened in the 50s was they acquired wetlands that existed then. They've since remapped them recently, and they've maybe taken a little bit more than what they originally got. So the goal and the intent of the meeting was to be able to get U.S. Fish and Wildlife in a position where the farmer could take the easement and say, okay, you've got the wetland acres. How about I take, these 10 wetland acres that you've bought through this perpetual easement and move them over to the other side of the field, and I can go ahead and drain tile on the west end of the field and make more habitat on the east end. So that's the whole hope and intent with the latest happenings, I guess, at the land meeting last Thursday, which is really interesting because up until recently, they haven't even thought about discussing it.
I bet not. That hadn't even crossed anybody's mind.
And they're hugely restrictive and adverse to farming.
Do you get those questions from buyers when they're looking at land at auction? Do they start to talk about those things?
Yep. There's buyers that won't even bid on a U.S. Fish and Wildlife easement parcel.
Really?
That has that easement on there. Because you can't drain, burn, or fill the delineated wetlands. If it's a wetland easement, if it's a grassland easement, you can never cultivate it ever again.
You know those rules well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Disclosure and education is a big piece of that. And the grasslands are even more restrictive. You can't ever cultivate it ever again. And you can't hay it before the 15th of July.
And yet we have some governmental agencies and figures such as Kevin Kramer and Julie Fedorchak who really are looking to make some change there too. So that's a positive for us as a state.
Some sensible change, right? So the landowners have conveyed the conservation and habitat to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And I think that's important to preserve that habitat, but we can do it in a smart way that coexists with agriculture.
Sure.
And I think that's what everybody's after right now.
Coexisting, smart ways. Those seem like good words to use. And the
common
right thing.
sense.
Common sense seems like a good plan. Speaking of common sense, I had an interesting question from a listener. And they're asking if currently, who is selling more land these days? Is it a landowner who is looking to generate cash? Or is it a farmer who is looking to pay down debt? Do you see a difference?
Yeah, big time. So I would say that 80% of our land sellers company-wide, we did 161 land auctions last year, and I would say that 140 of them were families, a lot like our listeners here today. They maybe live in Fargo, maybe a generation removed from the family farm, have inherited grandma's farm or dad's farm, and are getting up in years. Maybe they're 60, 70, brothers 80. Everybody's got kids, the whole dilution conversation. So a lot of those families are making the decision to move that land to market and exit while things are still good. That what I would tell you is the majority of the land sellers in today's market. Okay. We don't like to sell land for farmers. I like to sell land for farmers if they need to sell land. Don't get me wrong. But you always hate to see farmers selling land because generally that signifies some financial stress. Not always. Right. There are some instances where we'll sell land for farmers where, hey, I've got a quarter over here that's 15 miles away from home.
Right.
I've got some land closer to home. I want to take my equity over here and put it over here.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense.
It does when you're trying to put things into a better, efficient perspective so that you can be moving equipment, et cetera. That makes good sense to have things a little more tidied up.
Mm-hmm.
And Max, there's an annual meeting coming up this week in Devil's Lake, right?
Nope, this is the one we talked about. That was last week. Thursday.
That was
last week.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes,
I thought there was another one this week.
No,
sorry.
No, I'm sorry. When I sent that message, it was an email Max and I traded last week, Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yes, so we had been using that. Instead, though, there is another listener question about sentimental purchases. And if there's more sentimental buying versus land being sold because the heirs just want the cash.
I would say from a sentimental buy perspective, we call that a love property, and that does happen where you get two guys that fall in love with the property. I call it a love property.
Yeah.
You know, if it's pretty, if it's out in the Badlands and, you know, it's got that wow factor to it.
Maybe a little hunting.
We sold that Sinar Ranch last fall.
Yes.
That was a
Yeah.
love property. I mean, you looked at the drone footage, you looked at the pictures, you looked at the bighorn sheep. Wow, right?
How could you say no? Right?
Yeah, how could you say no if you had 10 million? And, you know, ultimately that's what it ended up being. It ended up being Letty Cowlog's granddaughter, Cowboy Hall of Famer.
Yes.
And that was a love property for that family. So we do see those love properties from a buying perspective quite often, if they are recreational in nature and people fall in love with them.
Oh, I think that's very, very true. And so tell me, the Edson and Margaret Larson Foundation, what that sale that just happened, was that a love property? Tell me more about that sale.
Yeah, so that was Edson and Margaret Larson. They've both passed. So that was 4,400 acres across 4 states. We talked a lot about it. I believe we talked about it on this program. And that auction was on the 10th of March. So that's been done for a while now. But what was really interesting about that is that sale pretty much encapsulated where the land market is at today. This land market is still really good in the sense that we're still setting county records, but overall it's down. And I know I've just said 2 different things, but
it's true.
It's true. The good land on that land auction brought 120 to 130% of the 2-year-old appraisal. The bad land brought 60 to 70% of the 2 to 3 year old appraisal. And we were within $70,000 of $21.8 million appraisal 2 years ago. So, I mean, that's how close we were. It was fascinating how we got there, though. The good tracts of land brought, you know,
Really
well
good.
in advance. And that speaks volumes with what we've seen. We've just sold an 80-acre piece southwest of Fargo for $12,000 whatever an acre, which is a Cass County record. But overall, this land market's down. So figure that one out for me.
Okay, this is going to be maybe a naive question, but it's a 2-year-old appraisal. Why did it take 2 years to go from appraisal to sale?
You know, foundation, I think there were some decisions that needed to be made to take that land to market. The thing that ultimately brought that land to market was the fact that if you have a foundation, you need to distribute 5% of your value a year. With land, anybody that invests in land, 5% is a dream. It's not realistic. So getting some cash and getting liquid was the real motivating reason behind that.
So my understanding is, with most recent moves in the auction business, Steffes Group is now the largest independent auction company in the U.S.
Yeah, I guess we are. Yeah, so one of our competitors down south got bought out by RBA Global, which, of course, is the 800-pound gorilla in our industry. But, yeah, it's kind of we view it as a good thing for us.
I was going to ask if this puts more pressure on, or if it just keeps you sharp.
You know, my dad always told me, when we live in a competitive business just like you guys do in showbiz, and if it wouldn't be them, it'd be someone else.
Yeah.
From a competitor standpoint, you got to worry about what you're doing for your clients and customers, and worrying about what you're doing each and every day.
Do you see any major shifts in your business? Any big? I mean, I guess I can't ask if there's any acquisitions coming because we can't talk about that kind of stuff. But I mean, are there some big plans in the future for Steffes?
Yeah, we always want to attract, and we hope that we'll have another acquisition at some point here. Of course, a year ago, last fall, we completed our acquisition up in Canada, which has been going really well. The Canada guys are kicking butt. We're booking auctions left and right, and we're really happy to be up there. But who knows where the next opportunity is going to be?
And that's probably the same for those who are buying and selling land. You don't know where the next opportunity will be.
Exactly. Hopefully next door or across the driveway.
That's everybody's favorite piece of land to buy. That's the one I want the most. So, Max, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Bridgette. Appreciate it.
Max Steffes, this is on the Auction Block. We do it twice a month. We'll also be visiting with Brad Olstead later here in April. Usually we have more of a machinery focus when we talk to Brad because he's been around heavy equipment for a while.
He knows a little bit, doesn't he?
He does. In fact, there's times I've reached out to him, hey, I got to find a mower, you know, the big sickle bar mower, but it needs to be only 5 feet. It's got to be this, got to be that. And he's like, I don't know why you look for these antiques, but sure. So
yeah, you're his personal shopper, I think.
Essentially, that's what's happening.
We all
yes.
got to have a personal shopper.
That's right. So thanks again, Max.
Thanks, Bridgette.
All right, bottom of the hour news next, and then more headlines and weather to catch up on. You know, there are times that we want to talk about the land, the management, the water, all of those things. And one of the places that we should do it the most is when we host the Drainage Difference first Monday of every month with landmark companies. If you are concerned about drainage on the farm, you're thinking to yourself, maybe I've just got to get some things done because my yard is a swamp as the frost is coming out of the ground. You've got some land that doesn't drain very well and you want to get on the books, so to speak, for some tiling projects this summer. Well, it's a great time to look at landmark companies. You can go to landmarkteams.com or you can just call Blake Sunday directly and talk about early order discounts for precision drainage and proven results. So there are times that we think about what different crops we could raise, right? The Midwest is pretty fascinated by raising corn and soybean, and a lot of us here in the Dakotas especially are looking for something new and different. One of those crops that we've talked just a little bit about here in the past has been camelina, and we're seeing more and more camelina drawing interest. Cargill has had a program called their Source Point Commodities Winter Camelina Program, and it's a contract that's offering a number of different things for the growers so they can make decisions. What are we going to do with camelina? Camelina. It's an oil seed, and it gets produced into a biofuel. So the winter variety of camelina can be planted in the fall, harvested the following summer. That really offers very interesting opportunities for the farmers that are involved. You can take a crop to harvest. You've got some revenue to earn per acre. There's some very good benefits of using a crop like camelina. Studies have shown that it decreases soil erosion, improves the soil structure, scavenges up that extra nitrogen that might be out in the field, and can also be a food provider for pollinators. Pairs really well with soybeans, millet, dry beans, sunflowers, and more in a diverse cropping rotation. And if you have a good stand of winter camelina, often it looks like it can suppress early season weeds as well. So in the spring, when you want less crop competition, that could be a good fit. So there's some benefits to what you can be doing with camelina in a variety of ways. There's also a practice called relay cropping. So you can plant your soybeans into the growing camelina in the spring, and then the camelina is harvested in late June or early July, and the soybeans get harvested later. So it's not really double cropping. It's actually raising two crops at one time. Now, you have to have sufficient rainfall to do that, right? And camelina does feel like it can be a little bit more arid, but we do have to have that caution because soybeans can require more water. If you get good rain at the right time, it's all going to work out just fine.
That's what we always hope for.
You have to give
right?
it's got to be timely. That's what's going to matter.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned early season weed control. Water hemp. It's like the bane of the existence in this region. Water hemp, especially in the state of Illinois, now I believe has 7 different mode of action resistances to it. 6 for sure in Minnesota, but now it's 7 in Illinois. Well, water hemp in Minnesota now has raised its ugly little head, which provides multiple seeds. Like if this thing can blow out about 80,000 seeds per plant. Water hemp now shows resistance to glufosinate. Glufosinate is the active ingredient in the herbicide Liberty, and we've been using Liberty especially because of certain soybean soybean varieties that we want to be using. We've used Liberty in canola, etc. And now Dodge County has reported a control failure. Seed collected from the field was tested in greenhouse and field trials, and the plant survived the labeled rates of glufosinate after an initial injury. So this is the first confirmed case in Minnesota. It's only the second documented population in the U.S. following that earlier confirmation in Illinois. And unfortunately, we do not look forward to finding out if there is more water hemp resistance that's growing in the region. How do we get resistance to these herbicides? And I've had this question asked. I can't remember where I was the last time somebody asked me about this, but I remember being in a classroom situation. So we had, it was out at Northern Cass, Northern Cass High School. And I was talking with a group of high school kids that are going to be talking and reporting on agriculture later this spring semester. Their question was, how do we get resistant weeds? Okay, so there's this. It's easier to do if I had a whiteboard, so everybody needs to imagine along with me, right? Imagine, if you will. You've got a field of, let's say, soybeans. You have water hemp as a weed that is surviving. You probably have 5 plants in the field. Everything else has been killed. But of those 5 plants, there's reasons why they survived. Maybe they didn't get enough herbicide. Maybe they were in an area that actually didn't get touched by the sprayer. Maybe it's that one plant that has natural tolerance. Plants always have natural tolerance to what we do, except for cultivators and cold steel. But in the case of water hemp, that one plant survived. And I just said it can crank out about 80,000 seeds per plant when it gets to maturity. So now all those 80,000 seeds, they too are resistant. So now they grow and they populate. They go to full term. So now you have viable seed in the ground. And that one plant just keeps creating enough seed that's then resistant. So it builds a natural resistance in the environment. We as humans help that along sometimes when we don't spray enough herbicide to completely kill a plant. It's kind of like you made it sick, but not sick enough to die. And so it builds its virility and the plant can continue to survive. So when it comes to water hemp, we've kind of done it to ourselves. We've used Liberty in a lot of ways, some in a lot of crops. Sometimes we don't always use multiple modes of action on a field, so we could take it out with like a 1-2 punch. And so now we're going to have some problems when it comes to Liberty, particularly for water hemp. My great concern in North Dakota is that we use glufosinate, also known as Liberty, for control of kochia. And we will potentially have that same problem happening with kochia down the line for us. So weed control matters in a lot of ways. And that's just one of them.
Now, if you've got a weed-resistant plant.
Yep.
Like
Or
you said,
maybe a herbicide-resistant plant.
Okay. Let's say there's 5 of them out in the field.
Uh-huh.
Why, if there's that few, and obviously, can you just go out and dig them up?
If you see them.
Okay.
Sure. If you see them. But if we're on an 80-acre field, and I want you to think about an acre as the size of a football field, you got 80 football fields and you got 5 plants. You got to find them. So it's a bit of a scavenger hunt, right?
Yeah.
And water hemp will take advantage of any sunlight or water that it can get. As Dr. Joe Eichley at NDSU reminded me one day, well, we don't call it dry hemp, Bridgette, because it likes water. I said, you're right, Dr. Eichley. So in our wetter conditions that we have, it's very prevalent, right? And when we don't find those plants and they can produce so much seed, and then the seed doesn't have to necessarily germinate right away. Water hemp, if that seed stays viable for 3 or 4 years, well, all of a sudden you thought you had your problem cleaned up until the right conditions, and then boom, there it is, right? It gets enough moisture, it gets enough sunlight. Water hemp can produce seed even if it's not a very big, full-size maturity plant. It'll do it at very small levels too. Later in the season, plants get really adaptive to short days, so they don't worry about height. They just worry about getting seeds to maturity. So it might only be a 2 or 3 inch plant instead of a 2-foot plant that produces seed.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plants are very adaptive. They'll do a lot of things they weren't supposed to. So we'll see how many more they can get to. I have other things on water quality, but then I think I've got some notes somewhere else, some headlines. I'll maybe have to find those for later. But if we're talking about sprayers, let's talk a little bit about water quality, because having poor water quality affects the effectiveness, the ability of our herbicides and so forth to work. I know that there's a lot of biological products out in the marketplace right now. And biological, I mean, you have a product that you can spray on a field that has a living bacteria or fungicide in, or fungus in it, okay? Because those are a living product, you have to make sure that they don't let the jugs freeze, because then it'll die. You can't get them too hot. They can't sit in sun, or the product will die. But also when it comes to water, if you're using well water, if you're using rural water, there's potentially chloride or fluorine in them, chlorine or chloride. If you are using the rural water, that chlorine can kill the biological that's in the plant, the biological that's in the jug. So you have to know what's in your water. If you're using rural water, it likely doesn't have any chlorine or fluoride added to it, so it's probably going to be okay to use. When you are using rural water, here you have to temper it. You have to use some of those neutralizers to neutralize the chlorine, too many words, chlorine, so that it doesn't kill the active biological that's in the jug. So you got to know what your water is like. If you are using water that has what's called turbidity, where it looks cloudy, it's opaque instead of clear, what's in that water? Because that can affect your spray solution. If you have water that's hard, right? So by hard water, we mean it's very high in positively charged minerals, cations, calcium, sodium, potassium, and iron. And it's easily binding to weak acids like a glyphosate. So when that cation binds to the weak acid, then it doesn't translocate in the plant and it doesn't control the weed. So all of a sudden, water quality got very, very important in our sprayers and the things that we're doing. And it's especially important, I think, when we're using like these camera optic sprayers where we're turning the booms and the nozzles on so very quickly because we can identify a plant that fast in the field. But if our water quality is poor and we only get that one shot to control that plant, all of a sudden things aren't going to work very well. So water quality is something that as we get ready to go to spring seeding, where we're putting on pre-emerge herbicides, we're doing burn downs, make sure you know what your water is like before you even get to the field. So a few tips and reminders coming from our universities. They've been holding a bunch of webinars right now to get everybody up to speed on them. All right, more weather and other things to come.
I'd like to say snow is done in the forecast, but we've got a little bit.
Yeah, that's just flakes, though. It's not really going to be anything,
Let's
is it?
hope so. Yeah,
Crying and cheering and clapping my hands.
What? You don't want snow, do you?
I want snow.
Dude.
He just wants it to
It's
snow
like
in
80
that.
degrees in here. Of course I want it to be
Yeah.
colder
He
outside.
just wants it to snow in that room.
Right.
Yes.
All right. Tell you what, when we go to break here, I'll go down and get a bucket of ice, and I'll just bring it in there and pour it on your head. Does that work?
I like it. I'll allow it.
Okay. I'm going to go get Addison a towel along with that bucket of ice, and we'll have more weather and ag topics when we come back. And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. 1:53 in the afternoon. Temperatures outside 49 degrees. Under partly to mostly cloudy skies across the area. We'll make it up into the low to mid 50s. A few more degrees to go. And we'll have those winds out of the northwest at about 5 to 15. Now, we do have warmer weather on the way for tomorrow and Thursday. It's going to feel like spring with temperatures in the low 70s for both Wednesday and Thursday. More sunshine tomorrow than Thursday. And then as we head into the end of the week, a strong cold front will arrive Friday afternoon. We'll have an early morning high into the 40s, looks like upper 40s, and then sharply falling temperatures in the afternoon with a few rain or snow showers. And temperatures will fall into the 30s. That will be followed by a chilly weekend with highs only in the 30s on Saturday, 40s on Sunday. But by early next week, we are looking at much warmer weather. By Tuesday of next week, we'll be flirting with 70 again. So that roller coaster up and down, that roller coaster ride will continue all the way through next week. Now, I just took a look at our latest European model. That's just coming out. And that's been it's been consistent every day with pushing that system east of the area in regards to any possible snow Friday night into Saturday. Now, our American model has also been consistent on giving us measurable snow on Friday night into Saturday. So we'll see which model wins out. I'm leaning with the European model right now due to the way the atmosphere is expected to set up as we head into Friday and early Saturday. We'll see if that changes, but the American model does have measurable snow in the order of about 2 to 5 inches for us Friday night into Saturday. But again, the European doesn't have anything outside of a few snow showers. That's it.
So for your discussion Thursday, I got a headline this morning. Super El Nino talk grows. What it means for U.S. farmers. What's a super El Nino?
It's a headline grabber is what it is.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's a strong El Nino. And again, this is just starting to develop right now.
Okay.
So we'll see if it becomes a strong El Nino or quote unquote super El Nino. If it does, this would rival what we had in 97.
How? What do you mean by rival? What we
in
had
terms
97?
of weather conditions in the summer and into next winter.
Okay.
So I haven't looked at what our conditions were here in 97, if we had drought conditions, if it was wet.
None of the 90s were dry. I'm just saying that
Right.
now.
Typically what it will lead to is warmer than normal temperatures, precip a little drought conditions south of here, and it leads to a milder than normal winter. So every El Nino is different though. So you can't just look at, okay, this is what's going to happen, and it's similar to 97, so you can't just blanket it like that. And again, we don't know how strong this El Nino is going to be. We know it's developing currently, so ocean waters in the equatorial Pacific are going to be above normal. How far above normal is still in question. So now what this will do is if this does develop as strong as expected, this will give drought relief to California and into the interior Mountain West. That's good news for those areas.
Yeah, because they're forever having a wildfire because
Right.
they built houses where they shouldn't. But hey, who am I to say?
Right. So we'll see how that develops. But yeah, that's one of the things we'll touch on our weather or on Jay Show for our LRC spring and summer outlook on Thursday.
Yeah, because if we're going to talk similar to what we saw in the 90s, I just heard some heads banging on tables because the 90s here were not dry.
Dry, yeah.
And not any of them really. And then as far as a mild winter, we've had two for sure.
Yeah, last one, 22.
Was that the year that we had, it just snowed all the time?
That was 22.
Yeah. But it felt like it snowed all the time anyway. We didn't have as many accumulations as we've had in the past.
But yeah, the last 2-3 winters here they've been a cakewalk. We've had a storm here or there that's been a little rough, but yeah, not like the winters of old.
Yeah, we've had some delays, we've had some road closures, et cetera, but it wasn't like 3-day blizzards.
Yeah, exactly. So again, if you're just joining us, our LRC spring and summer outlook, we'll air that on the Jay Thomas Show immediately following Weather and Ag in Focus here this Thursday. So be sure to tune in for that with all your questions too.
And send those in advance to you.
Weather@flagfamily.com, correct.
Because Superior Grain Equipment does sponsor our inboxes, and that way Dean has a jump on what's going to be happening specific weeks throughout the summer so that you can ask all those questions about your events. Don't forget to let us know, like, where. You need a zip code.
Right.
So you can, because if you just say what's going to happen that week, doesn't matter if we don't know where it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today on Weather and Ag in Focus. Don't go anywhere. The Jay Thomas Show. It's coming up next.